So that's special guest. That shows just who's live. We got one live watching me on YouTube.
It's Billy.
Right? That's great. All right, all right, all right. Give you guys a couple seconds. We got one live viewer. You can both light up. We lost the live viewer. I think Billy got tired. It's fine. We're back. All right. All right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very special Midsummer Angie's Angles where we got wings, bourbon, and cigars. In the studio live, we have Rich Lionetti, finally known as Leo, from LIBUO. It is July the 11th in the year of my Lord, 2024. Welcome to Angie's Angles, everybody. So, before we get to our special guest, Leo, who's been gracious, so kind to give us time to discuss the world of umpiring, let's go through what is and what isn't the New York Mets. Now, we all know my stand on one Brandon Nimmo, hashtag Nimmo sucks. For some of you that know me intimately, you realize that it's almost like an oxymoron. It's a reverse psychology. The more that I post Nimmo sucks, the better he does. So, Brandon Nimmo, listen, I wouldn't mind if I don't need a Lamborghini, but, maybe a little Ford Mustang in the driveway, if you know what I mean. So, let's review the standings real quickly. The Mets still remain about 13 and a half games out of first place, but as of end of game today, we're in a virtual tie with the San Diego Padres for the last wild card seat in the National League. We are sitting at a brisk 47 to 45. We're 13 and a half games out of first. Our last 10 games were 6-4, and we're on a 3-game winning streak by sweeping the Nationals today, 7-0. By the way, it was the first game of the year that we threw a shutout. And I think it was by the grace of God, if you saw Adam Ottavino into the 9th inning, single, wild pitch, hit batter, but he got himself out of the game. Hallelujah and amen. So, so the Mets, I am a non-believer. I am the biggest, purest Met fan walking this face of the earth. But I am also a realist, as many will tell you. I am a purist, and I've been accused of taking things to the ninth degree in things I do in my life because I'm a purist. I need it to be like it used to be baseball, right? We all understand that Rob Manfred has screwed the game of baseball with the rules. We'll talk some of them with Leo. He'll give us his opinions. We'll have a debate perhaps or two because we don't always see eye to eye. But that's what this is about, right? So I'm very happy to be here with him. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Leo from LIBUO, co-founder with our good buddy Bill. They started this 3 years ago, Leo.
3 years ago, yes.
Three years ago. Myself and my son Danny are inaugural umpires in the LIBUO organization. I had no intentions of becoming an umpire. Danny, one of Danny's teachers at school said, "Hey, Danny, I know this guy. He's starting up this umpiring thing. You should go check it out. I think he'd be pretty good," because he knew Danny loved baseball. Yada, yada, yada. Danny said, okay. He got his friend Dean. They went down to the meeting. It was at night, 7 o'clock on, I think, a Tuesday. The Met game was on. I was in the parking lot listening to the Met game, getting all comfortable and then I realized he's not going to take a note. I'm going to ask him a million questions he ain't going to have the answers to. I grabbed my notebook and my pen. I went inside, and Bill, you're a great guy, but as soon as I heard Leo's pitch, I was sold. I've told Leo this ad nauseum. And he needs to go on the road, do an umpire podcast, a show. He had me in stitches, but he also dissected and broke down the game of umpiring. Okay, we'll share it.
Yeah.
Then we'll share it. There you go. So he really he made it simple, stupid, right? He said, this is what we do. He explained how we do it. He gave you some tips, some guidelines. He went over this, that, and that, and this. And here we are 3 years later. I couldn't have been happier. It's a passion of mine that I played the game. Now I do from the other side. And for full clarity and for full transparency, for all the umpires that I rode in my entire life, I apologize, except to Angel Hernandez. You will never receive my apology, not ever. So let's pull this up. So this is Leo's resume, 25 years umpiring high school. Umpire of the year, there was a little, I mistyped, a 4-time voted Suffolk County Coaches Association umpire of the year. Worked the New York State Championship. He umpires division NCAA 1, 2, and 3. He did 2 NCAA Division 2 regionals. He's president of the Western Suffolk Baseball Umpires Association. He's president and co-founder of the Long Island Baseball Umpires Organization. And sadly enough, to my chagrin, he's a Skanky fan.
I had to put that in.
And one of the few guys that I'll call friends that's a Skanky fan. So he's special to me because that doesn't come easily. So Leo, why don't you say a couple words to our audience? We got 8 live viewers at the moment. Let's see if we got comments. Let me bring the comments in.
Well, first of all, just thank you for having us on. And as Angelo said, big supporter of us and what he's done. Him and his son Danny, one of the first guys that joined. And I remember that night when Angelo came in and he sat there with his little notepad and he started asking all these questions. And I'm like, well, you got to come to the next class and find that out. And sure enough, they did. And Angelo is like you said, he's a baseball guy. And I figured we had him hook, line, and sinker. I said, you got to get to the other side, come to the dark side, because I know he's a guy that always yelling at umpires like, oh, how could you not call that? How could you not call this? But then I finally broke it down and looked, I guess you look on the other side at baseball from the umpire's perspective, and now I think you have a better understanding and consideration for the umpires now that you know exactly what they do and what we do,
right?
And what we teach is harder than what the major league guys do, because the major league guys, there's 4 guys out there, and that's pretty easy. Where we're doing 2-man games, doing the job of 4-man. The Major League Baseball umpires have to call the plate, which is very easy for them to do. And,
Although Angel Hernandez.
Well, listen.
We're going to beat up Angel. And we could do it. And I promise not to pick on any umpires active. He's no longer active. He's fair game.
It's fair game, right?
But
yeah, so now you have a better understanding, appreciation for umpires. And I think a lot of people would if they knew exactly what goes into and the training that is involved. Not only rules, but what's called mechanics, being in the correct position to make calls, because it's always, and if it's angle over distance. Angle over distance. That's one of our things we preach from day one.
Ad nauseum for those who know what I mean.
And timing. So,
timing, yes.
And it's also timing.
And that's something that I need to get better with. And I did carry it into the game. I did a game doubleheaded Tuesday. Second game was plate umpire, and I heard the voice, timing. Because some obvious balls coming down right down are strikes, but you don't have to call a strike before the catcher catches it. So you track it, you think about what the call is going to be, and you call it. And this is what Leo and Bill teach us ad nauseum. A couple shout outs. We got Kevin Elliott. We got Lonnie. Wahoo! Mike down from Florida. Not Florida, the Carolinas. I am. Interstatal, along with my cousin Jeannie Farmer Swain. What's going on? Love to Phil from Virginia. Nick Troiano, let's throw you up on the big screen, kid. Hey, Mets are winning. However, Astros are interested in Pete Alonso and Luis Severino. They can go to hell. I tell you what, if they give us Tucker and Framber Valdez, I'll sell them a bag of donuts with that trade. Anaya Brooks, what's going on? I can only imagine that your grandfather's not that far away. Clark, I am trying to steal. Brett Miletta down and up from the Philippines. We are intercontinental. Clark, what's going on, brother? Linda, you're dialing up from Virginia. Hi, how are you, hon? Thanks for dialing it in. Officer Lennon's in the house. Are you recovering from the weekend? Officer Lennon. West Coast Dave Prince, what's going on? I am quintuple interstatal. Listen, we're at 12 live. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let me just do this. Oh, that's great. We got 6 watching via YouTube. I really appreciate it. And believe it or not, we got 2 Twitter watches. That's incredible. I think that's our first time. So thank you for all of that. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth through some banners. So I'm gonna not see the comments, but I'll circle back as best as I can. So, he's sitting next to me. And if he wasn't sitting next to me, and I have done this in past podcasts, I have given him and Bill a ton of gratitude, acknowledgement, thanks, the amount of patience that these two have, and their co-umpires who dedicate their time and energy to train us as well. And that doesn't mean at the classes only. They come down to the ball field during the live games. Some of the veteran umpires will give us a review. They'll come down. They hooked us up with earpieces and helped us along the game as we were learning real time, giving us input into our ears. The organization is top notch. Okay, if you're a wannabe umpire in the Suffolk County area at least, or if you know somebody, LIBUO.org or com.
It's leaguelineup.com.
Leaguelineup.com.
/LIBUO.
LIBUO / So /LIBUO.
And then you can fill out our new candidate form or see what we're about. Or come down to any town of Brookhaven game during the week, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and any town of Brookhaven field. And Billy and I, one of us will be there.
Clark, I'm on YouTube. Woohoo. Clark, welcome to the 20th century. Good job, Clark. I appreciate you, brother. Yes, please hit the thumbs up if you're a YouTube watcher. Please subscribe, like, etc., etc. I appreciate that. Okay, I will, Clark. Remind me to ask you about the MLB rule that freaking I could tell you about that. It's disgusting. Okay, so I'm gonna put Leo to the grill if you want, if you will. We're gonna discuss some things. All right. First one I want to talk to Leo about. Okay. So our favorite umpires behind the plate. All right. So it was a strike 3. We got the ball. Here's the black. The line is the black. The ball is a good 6 to 7 inches outside. Okay. And the Major League Baseball player got punched out. Now, to the player's credit, he didn't bark. He didn't argue. He took his comeuppance and left. Leo, as an umpire, and I'm, for full clarity, I'm not an umpire. I'm an umpire in training. And from day one, they said you're not an umpire until you're about your 1,000th game. And that's pretty accurate. It's very, as much as I claim, and I said it tonight at the BLDs, by the way, if you're in the neighborhood, Ronkonkoma, BLDs, get their wings, outstanding wings. So we had our midsummer Angie's Angles, Wings, Bourbon, and Cigar Night at BLDs. Now we're here at Smoke Therapy. But ad nauseum, Bill and Leo drill into your heads, you're not an umpire. You're not an umpire. How many games have you done? Oh, you've done 120, you're not an umpire. 400, you're not an umpire. Not until you get about your 1,000th under your belt can you be considered an umpire.
And the reason why is
Yep.
because there are situations that come up in games which will test your rule knowledge, which will test your timing, which will test your ability to make a decision maybe under pressure. And as you gain experience, which would probably take about 1,000 games for you to maybe experience everything. There are games where I see, or rules that I see now, and I've done over 1,000 games in my career, where, yeah, I've never experienced that.
Right.
Or I'll get videos from people, or I'll get questions from guys that I've worked with from maybe across the country, and they'll be like, "Hey, have you ever seen this before? What would you have done?"
Right.
So
And
that's what means the 1,000 game.
And social media is a really good tool because I belong to a couple of the umpire Facebook groups, and they present these things. They present scenarios. I'm a rookie ump. I experienced this. My veteran guy said that. What say you all? And some of the criteria is we're never to beat up that question, right? We're never to say get out of umpiring because we all experience something we've never seen before. And baseball, as much as I'm a baseball guy, just by umpiring 3 years, that's a rule? I didn't know that was a rule. Why do the umpires position off center, depending on the batter? I saw one guy that was very exaggerated one game before I was umpiring. I said, how can you call that outside ball pitch a strike? You're standing at third base, and that would be the bark that would come from the stands, right? But you don't want to be in the kill zone. See that I'm using a LIO, right?
Good.
You don't want to be in the kill zone, which is directly behind the catcher, because that's where all the majority of the foul balls will come right at you, because the baseball players are right on the ball. And as we know, if you're a baseball player, if Pete Alonso fouls one right off his bat, right to the backstop, direct. He's on the pitch. He's on the pitch. He's squaring it up next swing if he gets the same pitch. So
well, you don't want to be behind the catcher also because you can't. Years ago when they used the balloon, they stood right behind the catcher, and they never called a low strike. So if you watch all those old skanky,
right, yeah, I appreciate it.
The skanky videos from the 70s, none of the low pitches were ever called.
Right, because they couldn't see it.
Because you couldn't see it.
You couldn't see it.
So we go in what's called in the slot, which is the space between the catcher and the batter, and you can render any decision on a pitch at the knees or the hollow of the knee, which is the bottom of the strike zone,
right,
to the top of the strike zone, which is what, Angelo?
The letters.
The letters.
Yes, sir. Here's another picture I want to bring up. Now we're talking. Now he's not where. See, he's. This is perfect.
Is this Angel again?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is perfect. He's in the slot. He's off center. He's able to see the entire strike zone. Yeah, look at the ball. It's at the catcher's knee, which is one knee on the ground, and this was called a strike. So
That
Leo,
was called a strike.
yeah,
right?
it was called a strike. He struck.
So what happens is so sometimes umpires will what's called not track the baseball, which is watch the ball all the way to the glove, and they think like a hitter. A hitter already makes up their decision prior to the ball leaving the grass area prior to the plate.
Right.
So they already have to make up their decision. Sometimes an umpire will already say, hey, you know what? That is a strike in his head. And they won't track it to the glove. And they'll leave their eyes out. And they've already said their last picture in their head was
A strike.
that strike.
Right. So that a little insight from a seasoned veteran.
Bad what? Timing.
Bad timing, yes. I had that coming.
I'm going to start answering the question.
Here's our last play
All right.
that I want to bring up. So this play, the umpire called him safe.
Okay.
I mean, we could see that he's a good foot, maybe a foot and a half away from touching the bag. It was a pickoff attempt from the catcher.
All right. If we let the video go,
Right.
because I know he can't see the glove.
Right.
Because he can't see
Right.
through the back of the 27.
Right. Correct.
So he can't see a tag.
Right.
For an umpire to make a call, you have to see a
Right.
tag.
And also, to make a call, what do you need, Leo? You need a ball And a play
No.
or a tag.
No.
No, you need a
For a
ball.
play to happen, you need a ball and a runner.
Okay, fair. And a play. Couldn't that?
No, for
All
a
right.
ball for a play to happen, you need a ball and a runner.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So
Still training.
yeah. Again, I've only got what maybe 100.
You're a good
Not
guy.
even.
Yeah.
Not even maybe. So where are we? We're at the 850 mark. Oh my. So I want to give Leo some props. I got some questions.
All right, buddy.
Print it out.
All right.
And I want you to be Leo. I want you to talk about the Screaming Kittens.
Screaming.
Because the Screaming Kittens, I think that's what hooked me. The Screaming Kittens.
Yeah. No, Burning Kittens.
Burning Kittens, right. The
Yeah.
Burning Kittens. Okay. So what is LIBO's mission?
So we are, our mission is to train and to support umpires for the town of Brookhaven and their tournaments, and for the Long Island Sharks that use us as their umpiring group. We also service Patchogue Little League, Longwood Little League, and Sayville Little League.
And you've been approached by Perfect Game?
Well, we have covered some of their games. We've helped out other groups that we've had, and we have a good relationship with other groups out there. And if they need help, because there is an umpire shortage, and we kick in.
And the umpire shortage is due to us fans.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. And I'm going to give you a quick story, and I think I already covered this on Angie's Angles, but I don't know if Leo ever heard it. I was getting one of the coaches in my first year, I suppose. I said, he was riding me a little bit. All clean stuff. Come on, Blue, you're better than that. That looked like a strike to me, Blue, blah, 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 blah. Nothing over the top. And I was a first-year ump, so I'm timid. Sure,
Right.
I'm timid. Okay, I don't want to.
It's all right. We all been there.
I don't want to assert my authority. I don't want to enforce that I'm God on that field. I don't want to do that at that time. In between innings, I went over to him. I said, Coach, let me tell you something. I could be home right now, having my kids tell me they don't want to do the yard work. Complain about this, complain about that, complain about this. I go, I could be home for free listening to the bitching. I go, I'm getting paid to be here. And if you want to bark at me all night, as long as you keep it clean, I got no problem. He started laughing and broke the ice. I didn't attack him. I let him know that, listen, that's enough, but I didn't tell him it was enough. Just by my action, it got fixed, in my opinion. And we've had a good relationship. And that's another thing that they teach us, right? Not that you can't say, and they want you to call the coach by his name, right? And they don't want the coaches and the players to call you Blue, right? Because it's a level of respect. Hi, I'm Angelo. Hi, I'm Coach Joe. Hi, Coach Joe. How you doing? Not, hey, Coach. Hey, Blue. It becomes personalized. Now you've got human emotions involved, right? And I found that helps. Okay. I'm on Angie's Angles, blowing up Rob Manfred every day, every second I could get. I've said it. It's on tape. If he ever shows up, God forbid, going to the Great Diamond in the Sky, I'm the #1 suspect. If it was foul play, they'll be knocking on my door at 2 a.m. Where were you? I despise Rob Manfred. And Harold, I know you're not here, but let's go back to the comments because it looks like we got a lot of them. So it looks like we might have to speak up a little bit. So one of the things that we want to promote is call the best game you could call to your ability, right? Don't if you see a pulled foot off the bag, at first signal, and they teach us hand signals. Have that pregame conference with your umpire partner. Say, hey, if I see something, I'll give you a sign. Ask me for help, because sometimes you are in a two-man crew. You're blocked from seeing the actual play 100%. So if there's any discretions, it's okay to ask for help. Not every call is a help call. That stop.
Judgment calls are not help
Right.
calls,
Right.
but there are situations in which umpires can go get help
Right.
and
Correct.
help the other umpire.
Correct.
Catch, no catch, ball
Right.
leaving the wall,
Right.
right? Drop
Right.
third strike,
Right.
check swing,
Right.
pulled foot, swipe tag,
Right.
right?
Yep.
A balk if the pitcher did not.
Sure.
Right.
Runners lane interference, right? We could, because the guy in the A slot might not see it, so it's a home plate umpire
Well,
job
that would be his call, yeah.
right. It would be his call.
Everybody has a job
Right.
on certain plays.
Right. Correct. So that's what they teach us. Bill wants to add that we don't do Longwood Little League.
Well, we were servicing their Williamsport tournament games.
Okay, that's funny.
Thank you, Billy.
Oh my goodness. So all right, so we're back. I think we're caught up with the comments. So what I wanted to get into is the evolution of the game, and we were going to do this. So let's do that right now. Repeat after me. Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball ad nauseum. For God's sakes. There could not be a worse commissioner in the game of baseball than one Rob Manfred. And as much as I hate his ceiling, I'd get him back in a heartbeat. And he was awful, for God's sakes.
The views expressed here do not. You better do your disclaimer.
The views here
are not the views of LIBUO.
right, are not supported by the LIBUO.
Yes.
So the evolution of the game, now that we got Rob Manfred out of my system, how has the role of the umpire evolved over the years? And predominantly, I'm talking about Major League Baseball, right? With all these rule changes.
Well, the mechanics of umpiring has improved tremendously over the years since the 80s and late 80s. They are much better trained now. I guess they have weeded out the old guard. The training is much more extensive, and it's harder to make it as a major league umpire than it is to make it as a major league player because of the longevity.
Right.
And because of all the levels that the umpires have to go up. We have one of our former umpires, Gina Corderaro, is now in the Florida, I think, Atlantic League or Gulf Coast League.
Right.
She's down there. She is, she's doing a tremendous job. We have umpires all over the place. I mean, we have guys that do the Atlantic League. We have guys that do high-end D1, D2, D3. We have Joe Blumenauer was a member of us in honorary. So if he ever comes back, he'll work games for us. But Joe Blumenauer does SEC games, ACC games, and he got into the NCAA tournament this year, a conference tournament. He does a great job. But we have our guys here, top-level high school guys, top level, like I said, college guys that work for United Umpires, CBUAO, and they do a tremendous job. And they go to College World Series. We have Tommy Major went to a College World Series this year, did a tremendous job. And we have other guys who work for us, like a couple of guys who did conference tournaments and stuff like that. So we're very proud of who works for us.
The alum, right.
And who has helped us get to there. Billy and I are not the only ones.
Right.
Behind it.
Right. I said that in the beginning.
And there are guys that will help train you guys. They'll come down and watch. They've been to the mechanics nights and the classes to add their input. We have done a lot of great things, and Billy and I are on the same page with everything. And I can't say enough about how much I appreciate all that he does. For the association, like I said, from day one, we had a mission. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do it correctly. We're going to do it right. We're not here to take on the world, but we want our piece of the pie, and we're going to do that to the best we can with your guys' help. And
Right.
we got to thank everybody that works.
Right. Listen,
Also, when we thank everybody, yourself.
and it's a good brotherhood.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a designated spot at the ball fields where we all park together.
Mhm.
We walk to the field together. We walk off the field together. We do
It's a
pregame and
fraternity,
postgame.
and it's a
It
fraternity
really is.
too.
It really is, and it's heartwarming, to be honest with you.
I mean, if there's any golfers out there, umpiring is like golf. You're trying to do your best every single time you go out there. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but when it does happen, you know it.
Yeah.
And then you help each other. And I know I use golf. I'm a golfer too, but you're still gonna, even though you mess up one night, you're gonna be like, I'm never gonna do that again, and that's how you learn.
Right.
And then now you go and do your next game, and you become better than you were the last game.
One thing better than the last game. If you do that every game you do, you're gonna hit your 1,000th game and consider yourself an umpire.
Correct.
So let's talk about the automated strike zone that's been bandied about. That's in the independent leagues being tried out. It bothers me. So I don't like any of the rules that have been implemented. I don't like the 2 disengagements from the mound. I don't like the pitch clock at all. Abolish the pitch clock, Eric Schuster. That's for you. Abolish the pitch clock. I don't like the ghost runner, for God's sakes. We're not playing softball. We're playing Major League Baseball, but yet we have to. You'll never, and I've said this, Leo, you'll never see a Dennis Eckersley, Kirk Gibson at bat ever again in the history of baseball. Not ever. Not ever. Because the pitch clock is going to rob you of that cat and mouse game, of the mental deliberations that both the pitcher and the batter takes and does, because there's a lot involved. Yogi Berra is famous for saying baseball's 90% and the other 50% is mental. Well, that's 140% Yogi, if you know what I mean. But that was Yogi, and that's what made Yogi great. But we're never going to see that because you're not going to have that opportunity. That at-bat, no joke, was like a 5-minute at-bat. And then Kirk Gibson walks it off with the home run with a one-arm swing on a bum leg. So those days of yesteryear are gone. Clark, you'll agree with me. Let's talk about the automated strike zone. Where do you think Major League Baseball's headed with that? And how the umpires could accept that?
So Major League Baseball has taken every single element of arguments out of the game.
Right.
There's no more arguing.
Right.
Arguing is this.
Right.
They've taken they will still argue balls and strikes. But if they go back to the replay or the video in the locker room or in the hallway or whatever it is, on the iPad, they will see that most of these umpires, I'm going to say 85 to 90% of these guys are within 90 to 95% of calling the strike zone or balls and strikes correctly every night. There's been only one umpire, I think in one of the playoff games, I forgot his name, he was 100% correct on every single pitch.
Right, correct.
And I mean, if a doctor has 90% success rate, he's a terrible doctor.
He's a bad doctor. I agree.
And an umpire, after seeing, and I'm going to say minimum average 300 pitches a night.
Right.
What's 90% of 300? You go ahead, figure it out.
Yeah, I got it.
He got probably 15 wrong.
Right.
15 to 25 wrong.
90%
Right.
Sure.
Whatever.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Sure. The
math guys, you'll take care of that.
30. He got 30 wrong.
Okay.
It's 270. 90% is 270.
But that 90%, I'll take a 90. I'll take a 90.
Sure. No.
But in Major League Baseball,
right.
30 is really a bad night.
Right.
Think about it.
No, you're right.
I mean, when I do a game, and I'll say with my partner Billy, I can miss 2 pitches, and I know exactly what 2 pitches they are.
That's fair.
Okay, yeah, and I know what pitches they are because you're gonna be like, oh, was I too quick?
Right.
Did I not track? Was I in good position? Was my head height correct? Was I in the slot? There's a lot of things that go into it, and I know them, but there's no arguing anymore. They need that zone. Want to know why? Because it's a hitter's game.
Who needs the zone?
The Major League Baseball
Needs an automated strike
the
zone?
automated Hold on one second. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm not saying I'm for it, but they want offense. And they don't want guys Pete Alonso.
So it's the bean counters that want the offense.
Well, that's correct.
Okay.
But they
Let's
also
be clear
don't.
on that.
They don't want their top hitters being called out on pitches that are 4 inches or 6 inches outside the strike.
So let's discuss that for a minute, right? At the start of baseball today, I think the number was 45 Major League Baseball players are batting lower than 240. Okay, and some of your superstars.
Yeah.
Okay, some of your superstars that Vladimir Guerrero, Bo Bichette, Alonso, McNeil, right? And I'm not trying to focus on the Mets. I'm giving you guys off the top of my head. Goldschmidt, right? Arenado. These guys are consistent 300 guy, and you can't say it's a fluke year because there's too many of them, right? You can have a down year. You could be a Bryce Harper, great this year, shitty that year, great this year, shitty that year. You got to be an off guy, and there are streaks that you go through. But so we don't have the automated strike zone at the moment. So how do we equate that to the
automated? I thought
right.
you meant
the
West Tech.
No, I'm talking about the computer. So
Yeah.
taking the balls and strikes away from the umpire.
That's not gonna happen. I don't think that's gonna happen.
But they're leaning towards it.
They're trying it in the Atlantic League.
Right.
They did it.
Correct.
I mean, a pitch down the middle. If it doesn't track it, the umpire is hearing ball, but he sees the pitches down the middle. He has to go by what he hears. So he yells ball, and everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" The pitch is down the middle, and we've had guys who work that.
Right. And we in the Atlantic League now they're also instituting that the batter could disagree with the call.
Right, he can challenge
challenge the ball strike call. I mean, is this baseball or is this Pee Wee baseball? I mean, not everybody gets a goddamn trophy. I mean, this is what irates me, right? So let's get to this other part. Ricky Henderson, I heard, is sharpening his cleats because the bigger bases, the 2 disengagements. I mean, so these records that the gods with a lowercase g of baseball busted their asses, accomplished, are now going to be by the wayside because now you're given major advantages and changing the course of the game. And the Ghost Runner is the prime example. So a man gets to second that he did not earn. Rob Manfred placed him at second base. If that batter hits a base hit and the run scores, guess what happens? The batter gets an RBI. The runner that was placed there gets a run scored to his stats. But the pitcher's ERA is not affected. So it's basic accounting. If you take from column A, you got to take from column B. But because the pitcher's ERA is not affected, because he didn't put the runner on second base, but the offense gets credit, it's bullshit. And that's not baseball, guys and gals. That's not baseball. That's fabricated results.
Stratomatic.
Which I played, by the way, back in the day.
Who didn't?
So let me continue with my questions. I know we're in overtime. Mark Brooks, if you're listening, we're in overtime, brother. And we're maintaining double digits, live viewers. I'm loving it. I appreciate you. What? And again, I'm sorry I do this, but I'm relating a question to Major League Baseball.
That's fine.
What rules and regulations, in your opinion, as an umpire over 1,000 games, is good and bad? Which ones do you think you could you embrace, and which ones, like me, that you hate?
Like I said, I hate what you have just mentioned because, like I said, it's the union. Baseball is unionized, and they don't want to be out there. You'll never see a 24-inning game like the Mets and Cardinals played that one time. You'll never see that.
Never.
Ever again.
Ever.
You will barely ever see a 12-inning game.
Right.
Because somebody's going to score.
Right.
And the other thing I do like that the relief pitcher because it's all about speeding up the game. I do like that the relief pitcher has to face 3 batters. I do kind of like that because as a viewer from home, one guy comes in, the lefty matchup. Now the next guy's a righty. Now they're placating to the younger viewers,
Right.
who are instantaneous. They want we're old.
Everybody gets a goddamn trophy, guys.
Yes,
okay.
true.
Okay. So let me counter that. Okay. Jesse Orosco and Roger McDowell alternating in the outfield.
Yep.
Being pulled in to pitch to the righty, to the lefty, and poor Rusty Staub is going back and forth and out of wind. Okay, because they're putting the guy in right field if it's a righty, left field if it's a lefty, they're putting the pitcher so they're not exposed. Okay. And Clark and Harold and Darren and Mark Brooks, we have said this. If you want to know who your fan base is, count the asses in the seat prior to first pitch and after last pitch. That is your fan base. And I'll guarantee you this. It'll outweigh the 3rd to 7th inning fan head count. So don't give me this crap that with the millennials and you got, it's instant gratification, etc., etc. You want that? Go to the bathroom! God's sakes. I mean, seriously, you got to woo a romantic partner. You got to do the right things. Take them to dinner, wine and dine. Hold the door open. You just don't go wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, have a nice day. And that's what baseball's doing. They're bastardizing the game of baseball. And for this guy who's couldn't be more pure when it comes to the game of baseball, you're stealing me of my youth, of my memories, of my baseball card memorabilia on the back of the card. Who did what? Bob Gibson pitching what? 310 innings. You'll never see that a day in your life, not ever. It's not going to happen anymore. And I understand your point about the 3-batter minimum unless there's an injury for the relief pitcher. I might give my left toe approval to that, okay, because I understand it, right? But what I don't understand, you're losing out on refreshment sales. You're losing out at commercial time sellability by taking, and the games haven't shortened that much. And let's talk about the replay booth in Manhattan. For God's sake, sometimes that takes 5 to 8 minutes. And what are they looking at? We see it 53 ways till Sunday, and we know what the call is. And guess what? They come back and they don't say the obvious call. And it's ridiculous. And if I'm an umpire in the Major League Baseball Union, I'm not happy. Judgment calls are not debatable. Yet they are. Yet they are at the Major League Baseball level. They're not reviewable at our level. They're judgment calls. It stands. If you think you got blinded out, it's your responsibility to ask for help. Your partner's going to either say, yeah, he came off the bag. No, you got it right, Ange. But not in Major League Baseball. The only rule that I could enforce and wrap my head around is the home run call, right? Because the guys are 30 feet off the bag, needing to find out if it hit the yellow line, did it bounce off the back wall, yada. So we got the video replay. Because that if a guy hits a home run, he should be credited with a home run. I agree, and you don't have eyes on the play close, and that replay gives you that ability. So it's the only rule that I can really endorse and say I approve. And just to get back to the the rules committee, it was set up. And you may or may not know this, at the rules table when they were deciding on the new rules to be implemented. 6 representatives from the owners, 4 reps from the players, 1 umpire rep. So even if the umpire and the players all agree, which they did on all but one rule, enlarging the bases, was the only rule that was unanimously approved for safety reasons. And I get it. All the other rules they could not have vetoed because 6 against 5 6 is still the goddamn majority. So it wasn't even a fair voting system. And HR Ryan, I give you credit for bringing that to my attention. So thank you very much. We're going major league overtime, but this guy's the best. Give us one story of your whether it was a coach going off the rails, burning kittens, if it was a play that you felt you had right 100%, and Earl Weaver came out and threw the dirt in the bases with Lou Piniella. Okay, tell us a story.
Probably one of my best comeback stories as an umpire. Doing a plate in a tournament, and I'm calling balls and strikes, and so I call a ball, against their defense, and the head coach doesn't say anything. The assistant coach, he starts yelling out, "Oh my God, where's that?" So I'm like, "It's outside." Then they come up to bat, so I call a strike on their kid, and now the coach in the dugout says to me, he goes, "That's not a strike." Like, hold time. And I go, "Time." I go, "You're not allowed to argue balls and strikes." He goes, "Well, I'm a coach. I can do what I want." So I said, "No, your head coach is at third base. Your assistant coach is at first base. You're the scorekeeper. You're keeping the book." He goes, "No, I'm a coach." "No, if you were a coach, you'd be at third base or you'd be at first base. You're the scorekeeper. Sharpen your pencil. Keep your nose in your book, because that's what you do best. Don't come into my area and tell me how to do my job." So I think I had everybody in the stitches except for him.
Except for him.
But I put him in his place.
Right.
I did it in a funny, joking way.
Sure.
I have other stories, but I can't really get into them right now because they are.
That's fine.
I know some of other people might be watching.
Sure,
and,
I understand completely. Completely anonymous. That was an anonymous game.
That was an anonymous
Right.
game. So,
So,
but there have been some incidents where police had to be called. We had to leave the field. Security had to walk us off field. And nothing malicious. It's just that people get out of hand.
have you ever forfeited a game? Call a forfeit on the game for an overzealous, aggressive coach?
No.
In your career?
No,
Okay.
I have not, because I get rid of those coaches early.
Okay.
If
Right.
I have you issue your warning.
Right.
You let them know that you hear them. You can let them spew for what's called spew for a little bit. Then you issue their warning, and then you got to get rid of it. It's like it's like anything in your house that you don't want. You get rid of them early, and you don't have to worry about it. And I think that's what umpires need to learn, and that's part of the learning process. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants to what we call um, put our hand in the beehive or stir the bear. But you know what? Sometimes you have to get rid of, and you have to do your job, because there are some people out there that just don't know what we do, and there are a lot of coaches that don't know the rules.
Oh,
110%. I'm going to be honest with you. To this day, the coaches don't know the slide rule for high school. Coaches don't know the interference rule. They don't know the run rule, and they don't know the penalties that are associated
with those
either interference or obstruction.
Obstruction, right?
Okay.
Right.
And they don't understand that. Okay.
Right.
And as an umpire, when you are enforcing these rules correctly, they think you're doing it on purpose.
Right.
They think they're getting the short end of the stick.
And
okay.
I'm gonna share a story, and I don't know if I relayed this to you or not, Leo. It was this year, early in the season, I suppose. The pitcher is on the mound in his set position. He goes to pick off the guy at first, makes all the right moves, but doesn't throw the ball. They call balk. That's not a balk. He disengaged from the rubber. Coach, That's right. He did disengage from the rubber. He's supposed to disengage as a right-handed pitcher from the rubber to be able to throw to first. You can't throw to first on a pickoff attempt with your foot on the rubber, your back foot on the rubber. It's a violation. But he did like a jump spin off the rubber and faked the throw to first. I call balk. Uh, no names, but my veteran umpire goes, no balk, no balk, no balk, no balk, and overruled me as the veteran umpire. Town of Brookhaven says, yeah, that wasn't a balk, Blue. You go, guys. First base is the only base you have to throw to if you're attempting a pickoff. You don't have to do it to second. You don't have to do it to third. You can fake there at both bases.
Right.
But if you try a pickoff move at first, you must throw the ball. Long story short, 2 innings later, Town of Brookhaven guy calls me over in between innings. He goes, I apologize. You're right. I looked up the rule. You're 100% right. You had the call. Good job. I didn't need the good job. I didn't need the accolade. I know because of these gentlemen, I knew the rule. And it was unfortunate that I yielded to my veteran umpire against my better judgment, but to get the game going and his 12-year-old kids. Okay? In the end, it didn't matter. It didn't change the game, the result of the game, etc., etc. But even the veteran umpire goes, oh, holy smokes, I didn't realize that. That was a good call on your part. Good call. Next time I see it, I'm going to call it. Good call. So we're not always perfect. We're not always right. But the solace that I take, and like Leo and Bill T, one thing better every game. And that was my one thing better that game. The only thing I didn't do is really stand up and enforce my call. That was and that ate at me because I was very adamant that that's the rule, and there were a lot of things going on, and I backed off. I don't like doing that. Clark, the umpires have way too much to keep track of now. Make sure that the pitcher and batter make eye contact by 8 seconds. The pitcher throws the ball by 15 seconds. You're right, Clark.
That's all about speeding up the game. Major League Baseball is losing viewership on games that last. I mean, think about it. Yankee Boston years ago. They used to have games at Sunday night that started at 8:05. You could put that game on. That was in the 7th inning in 3.5 hours later.
Right.
I mean, it was disgusting.
Well,
but they lose. Listen, this is all about money. Money. Viewership. Like you said, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Keeping people in the stands.
Right.
But they don't, concessions, parking, and whatever, that's a minuscule. Media. The NBA just signed a $76 billion media deal for the next, for starting in next year.
Right.
Which is incredible.
Incredible
for
amount,
ABC,
yes.
NBC, ESPN,
Right,
whatever it is.
Right.
It's all about television. It's all about, they don't care if people come to the stands anymore.
Right.
They don't, I mean, they're going to sell, they're selling season tickets. They're selling luxury boxes. They're selling $12, $15 beers.
Right.
They're selling $8, $9, $10 hot dogs. That's great. They can stop at 7 o'clock, at 7th inning. They're not making that money.
Clark, you're not wrong. You have to step off the back of the rubber to fake a throw to first as a right-hand pitcher. You're 100% right. But there's got to be a plausible stop, okay? You can't do a jump spin and fake throw all in one motion, okay? You must have a concerted step off and then fake, because then that's a different thing. But if you're attempting an actual pickoff, you must throw the ball to first. So you're not wrong. If the pitcher is in his set and he steps off the mound, his back foot disengages and pauses and then fakes it to first, you're 100% right. But the situation that happened in my game, it was one motion. He disengaged and all in one motion, disengaged and faked the throw to first. There was no plausible gap. And that was the call. And Brookhaven looked it up and validated me. Anyway.
Tell him I didn't say that the people in the stands want a quicker game.
Right.
If I'm at a game, I want it as long as possible.
Right.
I never want the movie to end.
Right.
You're right.
And baseball was the only sport that was timeless.
Right. I'm saying the owners want it
right,
quicker.
of course,
The
owners,
media
the
wants it quicker.
management, right,
The-
and certain players.
Right.
Let's not kid ourselves. Certain players want to be at Club Loco Coco, whatever, dancing the freaking night away. So they're not immune to my wrath. Okay. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna wrap it up. I need to do this. It's my best friend in the universe's birthday today, Elaine Lands. He's the executive director at Adelphi University. We've been lifelong fans. I think we're going on 30 years, buddy. There's nothing that we don't dissect, discuss, approach, etc., etc. It's the longest running show going. So it's his birthday today, July the 11th. So in my best Marilyn Monroe imitation, here I go.
Can I move out?
No. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Elaine. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Let's go right to our prayer circle, if you will. Leo, give us 5 more minutes.
You got it.
Harold, we're praying for Dawn Squared, your wife and co-worker. We're praying for your friend Ed, who's getting good reviews and prognosis, and your friend Carol and her husband Bob on his dialysis. Scott Tobias, we're praying for your wife and mom as they face their daily challenges. Linda Stein, my good friend from Oceanside High School. We're praying for your dad in this upcoming weekend, your son's wedding. Congratulations to the Stein family. Mark Brooks, we're praying for your dad. We're praying for yourself that you remain vertical, my friend. Stop posting black and blue pictures of your face with your face planting. We're praying for your daughter, Dominique, who is blessed to be carrying a child. Lord, please watch over her pregnancy and keep everyone happy and healthy. Kevin Elliott down in Florida, as you face your health challenges, we pray for you. Kraus family, as Aubrey keeps fighting the ugly C word and staying in remission, we pray for you. Martha, your co-worker, my co-worker at Adelphi University, we pray for you as you recover from your ailments. Clark Altman, we're praying for your brother-in-law Brad and your sister Tricia. And Brad, I apologize. I know you asked, please comment on who you wanted me to add. I left it at work. I was in a rush to get out of work. I had to take care of some stuff. So I apologize. Just comment here who it is you wanted us to add to your prayer list. Deb and Lee, we're praying for Lee's medical challenges. Ray Capers, we're praying for you as you recover from your surgery and your ailments. Fred, as you face your rotator cuff surgery. Mr. McGowan, sir, we have your 6 as you face the C word also. And you're a strong man, Mr. McGowan. You got this. And we have your 6. Marion Bello, as your mom faces her daily health challenges. Big John and Smoke Therapy, we're praying for your friend Irene, your cousin Richie, and Phil's Nona. Tom, we're praying for your friend Paul as he's going through his cancer treatment. And again, we know that your mom turned 96, but it's really 29 that we pray for her. We have 2 more. We have Scott, Craig's brother. Prayers to him as he's facing some challenges. And Jimmy here at Smoke Therapy, his good friend Charles Sr. We're praying for his son Charles Jr. as he was 22 years old as he was recovering from liver transplant. So we ask God to watch over all of you. I wanted to say thank you to my friend Leo. We thank you very much for being our guest on Angie's Angles.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
It is my distinct pleasure and honor. Gentlemen, kids, guys, gals, retirees, go to baseballleaguelineup.com/LIBUO. Fill out the registration form. You will not be put on the field until you're qualified and they feel you can handle it. Don't feel pressure. Don't feel you're going to get eaten up. Believe me, I was a 57-year-old, old coach, old player who thought he knew the rules. Boy, was I wrong. And thanks to Leo, Bill, and their amazing staff, they sent me on the right and straight path. This has been Angie's Angles, come to you live. Midsummer Angie's Angles, wings, bourbon, and cigars. Good night. God bless. I love you.